All right, welcome everybody to The Pinch, featuring Relatingwave and Bluey, two fantastic gentlemen. And of course, the first guy in the middle, the man of many talents. He's got a major win. He's been kicked from every team he ever gets on. He somehow managed to make it back. And he's had a very illustrious career, $76,842 in prize money. Mate, how's it going?
Good.
Don't read any of this, by the way. Coming into the stream, I know you from, RLCS Season 3, my first season, OCE's first season. You would sleep in the Chiefs boys' bedroom every night.
Yeah.
Not hang out in your team's room.
Yeah.
A lot of fond memories back then.
I miss it. Those are good old days. Simpler times.
And of course, joining him, no major titles. He has won a 1v1 versus Rise on stream. It has been proven that he is able to win a 1v1. But he's a player for Endpoint and one of my favorite streamers, Relatingwave. Welcome to the stream, man.
Welcome. I'm very happy to be here.
Did you just welcome me? Thank you.
I'm welcoming you. This is my stream now.
Okay, where are we going next?
There's nothing more to it. I win all the time. I mean, I am this it says self-proclaimed, but that's just true. It's just true.
I should also say always speaks the truth. So
never lied.
Dave
lied once.
Everybody wants these waves going on in chat, but we've also had some waves. Great. Well, tonight we're going to be talking a lot about EU, obviously. Nobody cares about NA or OCE.
Yeah.
But before we do talk about EU, or more notably, in terms of NA, is EU the better region now?
Easily.
Yeah.
EU on top.
Bad question.
Bad question. Well then,
Bad
okay.
Agreed.
Obviously, like in the past, Sonics have. Well, the sentiment is that Sonics really focuses on NA. With things like CRL and stuff like that. Do you feel more looked after now with the new system?
I mean, a little bit. But I still think Sonics favors NA a lot more when it comes to like community tournaments and stuff. They have a lot more.
That's fair enough. What about you, Wave?
I mean, I wouldn't know much on the higher end since I haven't been there very long, but certainly for like the bubble scene, it looks to be an improvement compared to what it used to be.
I mean, I guess you got to be thankful you're from one of the major regions as well. But yeah, for tonight, if you guys didn't know, I'm bringing up all the topics that I was meant to have, and I don't have them. So,
No.
terrible streamer, terrible everything. We'll see how this goes. Actually, I can bring it up anywhere here. So I kind of wanted to talk about how the EU region's going at the moment in terms of English players, since both of you are from Britain, and in the past we haven't had a huge representation from England. So what's really... We're now at a position where we've got 9 English players coming into this top 16, just behind the French at 11. They're the second most represented in RLCS. Like Relatingwave... I don't know. I'm going to call you Lucas from now on, because calling you Relatingwave sounds fucking cringe.
Go for it. It does, doesn't it?
Yeah. It cringe outside of a cast, if I'm casting you, it's fine. But Lucas, so would you attribute this to something like Gfinity, or is there something about the English scene that's really pumping out players now?
Well, compared to what the English scene used to be, it's definitely growing a lot, because when I was in the bubble scene, it really was not as prevalent, whereas now probably close to a third, maybe a half of the bubble scene are actually from UK. Like, it's certainly grown a lot from what it used to be.
So why is it the bubble scene though? Because I mean, you look at all these English players, you look at, Relatingwave, for example, they're not winning. It's still the French players winning it all. So what's the difference there? I mean, maybe you're better at answering that, Dan.
Well, I don't know. I feel like, I mean, as Wave said, like the bubble scene, the UK bubble scene used to be awful. I just feel like because everyone was kind of like egotistical, and the UK scene would just like fight and fight and fight, and they could never stick within a team and like play it out. They'd always fight. If they did got bad placing in a tournament, they'd break up and just fight and everything. So, but I think like recently, I think there's a lot more UK teams nowadays, and I think they're just playing a lot better and just sticking together. I think the whole UK scene in general is just more friendly,
Yeah.
not fighting each other. So it's really good to see. Cause,
it's just the British mentality of what it always has
yeah,
been.
it is. It is.
Well, it's also funny because like the French guys seem so close together, right? Then there's not a lot of fighting.
Yeah.
There.
No, 100%. Yeah, the French team is actually crazy. They're all like really like connected. Like you see like all of them like playing with each other in ranked and stuff, and they obviously spend a lot of time together like outside of Rocket League as well. So it's crazy. It's exactly what I want for the UK scene as well. Like all of us to be connected with each other and all be friends, and UK on top. Really, that's what I want. That's what everyone wants in the UK scene, I'm sure.
So does that mean a lot to you, Lucas? That actually England goes ahead of other, like, does it matter to have that country pride, or do you not care so much?
I think country pride's it's fairly like prevalent to a lot of British people because the mentality is just we've always thought we're better than everyone.
Yeah.
There's not more to that. But,
Yeah.
it's good that the scene is growing a lot more for the UK,
Mm-hmm.
and like it's certainly becoming or competing with the French because a lot of in the bubble scene, we'll say. The French scene isn't looking as good as what it used to be, but that's because half of them have gone to be pro now.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like pride is quite important to a lot of people in the Rocket League scene.
Do you think it's maybe an advantage that the French speak like their own language, right? I mean, I guess it can't be if you've also not got Germany coming out ahead too much, right? But they're speaking their own language. They're much more insular and not reaching out and have more French-only teams. Is that the advantage, or something? Are they doing something else?
I wouldn't really say that. They just I wouldn't know exactly, but they just seem to be advancing a lot faster compared to most other countries. Like you've seen Spain is finally beginning to catch up now.
Yeah.
And then the UK players, it's been quite easy because the predominant language in worldwide would be English, whereas French and Spain haven't been educated as well because that's how their curriculum works or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So they do prefer to stick with their own scene, but they are willing to branch out.
Yeah. For those who don't know as well, Spain are now... They're actually the number 3 country in the top 16 now, which is insane considering... I think even just a year and a half ago, you'd be happy to have just one player, and you had like Matios being a player that you'd be like, he's the best Spanish player to some extent, and it was a bit of a joke. So I'm guessing I know that they've had like a bit of their own actual like internal tournaments and stuff like that, which I'm assuming has also probably helped them a lot.
Yeah, I mean, when we had Natch Tower on our team, he was known to be the first starting ever RLCS Spanish player, which was season 9, which seems quite a long time because 8 seasons before and not one really starting Spanish player. It seems a little bit weird, but I don't know. That scene is growing rapidly, but they had their own a few internal tournaments. It's just.
Well, I think as well that insular stuff where you play these tournaments with just other Spanish players, for example, may not push the scene as much as being in those other ones. Maybe in the bubble or anything like that. So when it comes to RLCS, where you have this open format and the grid, Bluey, is this what may be driving the other countries to be more involved in the top?
But yeah, 100%. I mean, with the new format, there's so much Rocket League going on. It gives like the bubble teams and the bubble players so much opportunity to really grind and get on top, really. Because with the previous format, it was at least you had to perform on one weekend, and if you didn't perform, you didn't get into RSS or RS. You had to wait another like 6 months for another chance. But with this new format, you can qualify for each regional like once every month, and you've got the grid as well. And you've got the field. There's so much Rocket League to be played for these bubble players, and gives them so much opportunity to really improve and get to the next level, and playing alongside the pros. And it gives them just amazing experience as well. So I think it's great.
Do you ever get envious of the fact that you may have had to do it the hard way multiple times, getting into RLCS, and now it's so much easier?
No, of course not. I mean, that's just the way it was back in the day, you know. I can't be envious. I mean, this is just the future, you know. If anything, I think it's good for everyone, really.
Yeah.
Because it forces also. I mean, it's good for bubble players because they can more easily get into the top in the RLCS and stuff. But also, I think it's also harder for top teams. But I think it's also a good thing because it really challenges top teams to stay consistent. I think that was the main problem before because with the previous format, all you had to do was make top 6 to stay in the next RLCS, and with this new format, you have to stay consistent like week in week out. And I think that's amazing for the players that are involved in RLCS.
I mean, that's certainly true, especially for somebody like Oxygen, right, who have been very good in the grid, but haven't been able to make it into the top 16, showing some consistency issues even just across a single day at the moment. But I guess for you as well, Blue, I want to continue with what you're talking about. How are you classifying Triple Trouble as a team? Like, we talk about Bubble and Pro. Where's Triple Trouble standing at the moment?
I mean, Triple Trouble, I feel like we're kind of in the gray area. I don't think we're like a top caliber team right now. I mean, of course we've won the grid. We've been performing decently in like the regionals and stuff, and we're placing well in like every grid. But I wouldn't consider ourselves like a top tier right now, especially because I don't think we're too consistent. We're kind of in a slump right now. But I don't think we should be classed as a bubble team because I don't think we're really not. But I feel like if we can stay consistent and keep, maybe winning grids or placing highly and placing higher in regionals, then I think we'll probably, hopefully, be considered a pro team at some point. But as of right now, I won't consider ourselves a pro team because I don't think we're at that level right now. I think we've still got some time to go and time to prove ourselves, really.
And if you're an org out there, ignore everything he said. Best team in the world, make sure to pick them up. I know you guys are looking. Wave, how's Endpoint looking at the moment? I mean, obviously, seeing you guys play, you're still struggling, I'd say, to push to the very top of the scene.
Yeah, we're still going. I mean, inexperience-wise, outside of ROCS, I'm very inexperienced as a player.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've never won a tournament to this day outside of a Boomer tournament.
Wait, not even like an ESL weekly or anything like that?
No, I never got past the round of 16 in ESLs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, not great.
I'm very accomplished then.
Yeah, more than me. But yeah, I would say we're probably like... I would still make the case for being a top 10 team because the grid's going fairly decently for us.
Mm-hmm.
And we've done sort of okay in the first one, and we made the second one, but... but who knows how that's going to go.
Freaky's exactly right. I mean, I may have won an OCE tournament, but that's not too much to brag about. But yeah, I mean, I've got the results up here from this second one. You guys didn't make it easy for yourselves, of course, with the loss to Solary. But at least you took that 3-0 at the end. Are you Freaky's in the chat? What do you think of Fadeaway?
I think Fadeaway are quite a unique team because they're such a... Well, when we played them and how I personally feel of them, they're quite a defensive-heavy team, which is very uncommon in this current meta, since it is just ball chase and bump right now. But it seems to work quite effectively if it's correctly executed.
Yeah. I mean, it was very effective on the weekend. I think Fadeaway was the real surprise packet. I mean, Triple Trouble were in the same group as well. You guys didn't have to play Fadeaway, but had a tough run of it. Were you surprised when Baguettes came out as strong as they did, Bluey?
Yeah, 100%. They were very, very, very strong. yeah, completely took us by surprise, to be honest.
Bloody Frenchies, to be honest. You know,
I,
that's the real
French.
story. 2.5 Frenchies. There's an English player on there too, right?
Yeah, it's blurry.
He
Yeah.
claims to be French.
Yeah, I don't know if he actually is, but he claims it,
No,
yeah.
he's not.
They didn't make it easier. So, I mean, what's causing you to not make it into the top 16 this time?
I mean, we've been in a real bad slump recently, not gonna lie. I don't know what it is, but I think we've just had a case of like overperforming and now we're maybe coming back down to reality. Maybe we had like a honeymoon phase, I'm not
Mhm.
sure, but as of right now, we're just playing really weird and I don't know what it is and we're really trying to fix our issues. So hopefully we can, fix our issues and get back to our winning ways in the next grid and hopefully next regional as well. So.
Are you finding that's a thing? Like, obviously, you had a last place result in the grid recently, and you didn't make top 16. But are you finding that's the same in scrims, that you're not playing as well in scrims as you usually did?
Maybe a little bit, but I mean, for us, like we use scrims as like a learning tool, I guess, to really see how we're playing and what we need to change. So winning a scrim really doesn't matter to us. We use scrims and like the field as a learning tool to really see how we're playing and what we need to change to really become the best team that we can.
Yeah. I mean, here's the results, everyone, for the last 4 weeks of the grid. Triple Trouble. Both the teams, Triple Trouble and Point, have had, I'd say, overall very good ones. Endpoint didn't make it in week 3, if I recall, but have otherwise had a lot of top 4 results. I guess, if you actually look at these results, you're putting them yourself in a good spot. But what do you actually think of the grid wave?
I think the grid it's quite nice, and it's very good for competitive integrity for teams to put to use what they've done in the grid. Sorry, not the grid, scrims, and then the grid's sort of like the base to the regional.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of like, I think the regional is obviously where everything mostly matters. But like with the grid, it's good that it's sort of like RLCS in a way, because it's the weekly format.
Yeah. What do you think
It's
of
not
the fact
regionals.
that if you're the top, like the placement at the major is favored towards the regional event rather than the grid, so there's a chance that there's 0 teams going from the grid into the major.
I prefer that, to be honest, because it's a bigger tournament, so there's more teams that are, well, playing in general, and then I don't know really. Like, I think it's better because there's more on the line. It's better to have some things like more important than others.
Yeah.
Obviously, the grid, like number one, going straight to major, I agree with, but I still believe the regionals are more important, regardless. One, they're not as common, and it's 2, it's more money, so there's a lot more to play for.
Does that mean, Bluey, for you? I mean, you've maybe not had the most points coming out of the first 2 regional events. Is that putting more pressure on you for the grid? Does it make you more nervous that maybe your only way is to come out top of the grid?
Yeah, definitely. It definitely does put a lot of pressure on us to really like perform in the grid because I mean we've had a lot of success in the grid and hopefully that might be our only way to actually get it into the major because we have like really not performed as well as we really wanted to in the regionals. So it definitely does put a lot more pressure on us to keep performing in the grid and hopefully we can get that number 1 spot into the major through the grid.
Makes sense. I mean, I'm really liking the EU format right now. It's been fantastic to watch, and I'd say the only problem for me is that there's so much to watch that I can't keep up with all of EU and NA at the same time. I kind of wanted to talk about something that you said on stream the other day, Bluey, though. And this is moving on to maybe another topic. But you said on stream that you should have already won a world championship. It didn't seem to come from an ego standpoint, more like a disappointment standpoint. Do you want to elaborate a bit more on that?
Yeah, definitely not ego, just disappointment. Yeah. Well, basically, right? It's that season 7. That's what I'm on about, right? the me, Devo, Alpha. That was like my perfect dream team. That was the team I've probably been most happiest on and really content with. And we obviously did amazing in that season. I think we got top two in league play,
Yeah.
and we obviously made world championships, which was great. And we just did not perform. And I feel like if we really, I don't think any of us really put our heads down at that world championship. There's a lot of things like behind the scenes that really kept us from performing, and I just don't think any of us really had our head in the game at that time. And honestly, I personally feel like if we all had our heads down and focused on winning the world championship in season 7, we really could have done it.
Well, is there something that you personally regret, something you wish you'd done better or differently during that season?
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on at Barcelona in season 7, and it was like really frustrating, and it's kind of out of my control as well. And there's not much I could do about it. There's also definitely some things I could control, and definitely some things I wish I could have done differently to really maximize my team's performance. Because as the captain of that team, of course, I feel responsible that we didn't perform as we were supposed to. You know, we got top 8, which is great, but of course, as a captain, you want to, you know, get that first place every single tournament. And yeah, it was really tough. And definitely should have done a lot of things differently.
Yeah.
But I guess I just used that as a learning experience, really.
A tough learning experience, obviously.
Yeah.
For you, Lucas, I mean, you're obviously trying. You're probably ahead right now of Triple Trouble in terms of a road to the World Championship. But how likely do you think it is that the endpoint are even making it to Worlds or even winning it?
It's way too early to say. Like, you can't really give an outcome when the second regional hasn't even finished. Like, we're not doing bad as a team.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, at current state, I might say we could be close to the top 6.
Yeah.
Winning Worlds is that's out of the question. Like, I haven't played at a LAN, I don't know what anything's like yet. So, that's going to be a fun time if that ever happens, but...
Well, your first RLCS season was season 9, right? Where you didn't even have Worlds on the line in the end. You know, did that affect your performance then, or were you actually kind of happy that, you know, you got to play a little bit less under pressure?
No, I don't think it made a difference, because the original objective was never to make Worlds or anything. It was just purely surviving an RLCS. It was like, you just needed to make the most of it, because we hadn't been there before, and we made it through the system of the promotion relegation, I think.
Yeah. So I guess we're now at a position, right, where just getting to Worlds is obviously difficult with the sheer number of teams that are playing, but also, you know, there's only one Worlds a year, so winning a Worlds has to be half as likely. So if you're a player, you know, almost certainly, I'm assuming everyone wants to win Worlds. I know, Bluey, you're like, you're in a position where you feel like you have to win Worlds eventually. So then, what are your thoughts now with having less Worlds, that's actually a realistic goal to have, or that you might ever achieve?
I mean, it's definitely going to be harder because it's like less Worlds, but I think it's going to be even more meaningful. So honestly, I think that checks out really. Kind of trading the more Worlds, but it just means a lot more. And of course, there's a lot more money on the line as well, so there's a lot more pressure. But I think it's a good thing personally.
Do you think the same, Wave?
I think it brings a lot more meaning to Worlds and the World Finals as a whole. I like the idea of the majors, and it just being like the final thing is quite important, I'd say.
I'm assuming, you know, at least both of you will make it to one major at this point, if not more. Do we know what the system of the points is on getting 2 Worlds? Is it major points that you get, or is it from the 3 splits, the actual regional events that get you to Worlds?
I think it's just overall points. I think in the regionals, I think like the grids and like the regionals are kind of like separated. So like, the grids points are mainly priority for the grids, and first gets the major spot. but like, mm, I'm pretty sure it's just like regional plus major points qualifies you for worlds.
Okay. I mean, John's a smart lad in chat who says that majors giving double points, which would certainly make a lot of sense for getting into worlds. Like in terms of how you get there, right? Like everybody at the moment, you know, the typical day in Rocket League is what? You know, you go to school, you come home. Bluey's full time at the moment. And you play what, 2 scrims and some stream and play some ranked. You know, do you feel like in Rocket League there's maybe not enough of the grind happening compared to a lot of other games where, you know, you might be scrimming 8 hours a day and still have solo queue and stuff like that outside of that?
God, yeah. I mean, you see like pros from other games like League of Legends, CS:GO. They scrim 8 to 12 hours a day, and it's crazy. But that's exactly what I would love to see in Rocket League. Really, like pros taking the game more seriously. I mean, you see pros like just complaining all the time about how much they hate ranked and everything, and I get it, right? It can be quite tedious, but you also need to just like not give a shit about it, and just play the game because after all, it is our jobs, I mean,
Yeah.
of course, I think rule one is you should really enjoy it before anything. But I mean, personally, I enjoy ranks and I enjoy streaming, 6-man, scrimming, and everything. So that's why I play the game. I wouldn't play the game for money because I don't see it that way. I play the game because I enjoy to play and I love competing. But I really wish like people and pros would take the game more seriously and play more hours because I would love to scrim 8 hours a day. I would love that instead of playing ranked. But yeah, it's not really. I can't really scrim all day when no one else is.
Yeah. What do you think
It's hard.
stopping people from that wave? Scrimming more than 2 hours a day?
I mean, obviously the fact that a lot of Rocket League's professional scene is younger compared to a lot of esports doesn't really help. So like for me, for example, it's always just I've had to do school where during lockdown I've been able to play more in the mornings as well.
Mm-hmm.
It also, like from my personal experience, I feel like Rocket League's scrims are a lot more intense because you have to be reactive and just you have to focus for the full 5 minutes, where you sometimes and not even get a minute break, and then so you've got to do that repetitively 7-8 times over the hour, and then maybe do it again straight away
Mm-hmm.
with a 2 minute break. It's intense. Yeah, that's why I think why pros don't scrim as much.
Do you think that might be letting them down, right? Because on the weekend now, you have to play 5 series maybe. You know, did you feel that if you're practicing that for this weekend that you would have, I guess, easier made it into that top 16?
Sort of. I mean, it's good to be able to do like more like longer endured sessions. Like, because I used to struggle with playing more than 2 hours at once.
Mm-hmm.
I would play multiple times, but I couldn't do long periods. And now this format entices players to do long periods. Like on Sunday, I had to play for what 9 hours straight,
Yeah.
effectively. Obviously, some more intense than others, but it will encourage people and pros to grind a lot more.
So does that mean either of you have plans to do more than 2 hours of scrim a night or in a day? Is there surely there's got to be multiple teams that be like, we do an extra 2 hour session or even a 1 hour session in the middle of the day, right?
I mean, some teams probably would be committed. Although, as I said, it's quite difficult with a lot of the professional scene. More North America than the EU.
Yeah.
EU is a lot. I think it's a bit older, but it's just school interferes with quite a lot with people's schedules. So, I mean, I play 5-6 hours a day minimum usually because it's my job
Mm-hmm.
and I enjoy it. But I mean, having the outside of no school and playing it full time certainly helps.
So, are you like when you finish school? Are you planning on actually playing it all full time, Wave?
Well, that's probably going to be the case. Yeah.
I mean, it's
Like I
exciting.
can't. I mean, I don't want to do university or anything like that, and I don't know. I've not really been a sucker for education.
Well, it's exciting that that's even like possible, right, for a lot of people nowadays. Um, I guess we are in a pretty good position at the moment. It always is weird because Vitality often only scrim 1 hour a night, but they're also grinding a lot in ranked and streaming all the time and stuff. So I guess, do you feel like you get a lot of improvement, Dan, from playing in ranked?
Yeah, of course. I feel like you need to play ranked to really improve. Like you can't really just do scrims, you know. Yeah, I feel like also like six mans and stuff is really helpful as well. I feel like if you just play with your team, it's quite limiting. But also if you don't scrim, it's also a bad thing. I think you need like a balance, you know, balance of both to really maximize your improvement.
Well, I mean, what are you doing in ranked to actually improve? Like, how what's your thought process? How do other people kind of emulate your ability to get better?
I mean, I just queue ranked, innit? Just like twos, threes, I mean, even ones. I mean, personally, I like to queue ones quite a lot. I need to get back into that actually, because I find when I queue a lot of ones, I improve a lot quicker. It improves my ground game a lot more because you know I'm like an aerial player, right? Like my games are very good in the air, but I need to improve in the ground. And queuing a lot of 1v1 helps my ground game and really helps my overall ability in the playing game. So yeah, I mean twos and threes is also very beneficial for me. I just love queuing ranked personally.
So it's a lot of just
I've
playing the game.
not seen you play once.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I feel like if you don't play the game a lot, you're just gonna suffer really. And I think we've seen that with a lot of like retired pros now. They didn't play a lot of the game and they just got washed. I feel like you really need to play a lot of the game, play a lot of ranked to really keep up with the meta.
Same for you, Wave. Is it just playing the game, or do you actually have a lot more like thought in mind when you're playing?
I don't know. I agree with Bluey in the idea that ranked can be really effective, but then again, like it depends what's ideal for the person because you've seen it by some pros where they just don't play ranked that much and they have kept up. Like there's not really like a specific answer you can give,
Uh-huh.
but I would say that I enjoy playing ranked. It's nice playing a different mixture of players, and also I probably see ranked as one of the most beneficial purely because the speed of like bubble players are increasing, which means pros have to get faster as well with that.
Has that caught a
But
lot of people off guard with the likes of Giants and stuff as well, playing really fast?
100%. Like, well, it happened for us in our LRS as well. Our team was probably faster than most teams in our LRS season 5 or 8 or whatever you want to call it. But like, speed is becoming a lot more essential compared to what it used to be. Because if the team is maybe individually fast, but not as a whole team, it can take a heavy toll on the performance.
So then, how do you see, I guess, the future of Rocket League in terms of, I guess, the meta? Is it just going to be pure speed, or are you expecting it to slow down again? Where does it go from here?
I reckon we're gonna have another long period of time where it's about speeds. I think the bump meta's finally beginning to sort of come to an end because it's not as useful as it used to be. The speed thing's still like a necessity. I have a feeling sooner or later there's gonna be a way to like sort of slow the game down again.
But you don't really know what that would be until it actually happens, right?
Yeah, it's hard to predict.
So how do you,
Nothing's been found.
so how do you guys keep up, right? Like if the game's constantly evolving and Bluey especially, you've been there since, early days of RLCS, how are you constantly staying on top of the beta? Or have you fallen behind on multiple occasions, or are you trying to stay ahead and be the actual one making a new meta?
I mean, yeah, of course, when you're competing, of course, you want to stay ahead of the curve, really, that's ahead of the meta, and you gotta really stay ahead of the curve for the reason that if you get left behind and you can't keep up anymore, you're gonna obviously get left behind, and you're not going to be able to do place as well in tournaments. You're gonna get beaten by probably teams that you really don't expect to get beaten by. And yeah, when it comes to like meta and everything, um, where I think the game is headed, I think we're definitely like slowing down. I definitely, I mean, you don't see Vert bumping that much anymore, to be honest, which I'm pretty surprised about. So that
I
just tells
disagree,
me
but
I haven't been
you're,
bumped by
you're,
Vert in a long
you're,
time.
you're not the one playing with him every day.
Yeah, I bet, but I don't see a lot of people going for or too many like chasing demos and bumps anymore. I really feel like the game, well, people are changing to slowing down and really controlling the ball, and maybe going to like a little bit of a flakes philosophy kind of play style.
Do you think Barca really pushed the meta when you were on that?
Um, a little bit maybe. I mean, when I was on Barca, like the first iteration of Barca Me Devo and Alpha, we really pushed the narrative of fast, mechanical, and but also individual players and also team players. We could really do everything on that team, like fast and mechanical passes everywhere. Also, we had literally like everything. We could do everything. Every player on that team could do anything that they wanted because we all had the mechanical ability. But I feel like that kind of play style nowadays probably wouldn't work, honestly,
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like everyone knows how to kind of counter that play style as well, because everyone knows how to block passes and block the passing lanes as well. I feel like that's also why we saw Cloud9 like break up and really not perform as well for that reason.
But it's interesting to hear. I mean, Wave as well. I actually wanted to ask you a bit about your team, and especially with the addition of Metsonoris. I mean, how's it worked with him? He's been looking pretty solid as you know, joining you in that second, third man rotation. I mean, how would you rate him on your team and what he's added?
It's brought a lot more well, when we were in RLRS and RCS Season 9, we heavily relied on bumps and individual plays. In RCS, we never really worked as a team so much.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, probably now we've certainly like worked on it a lot, and it feels good to grab 100 boosts because I went 8 months without picking one up probably.
Meta leaves it all for you.
No, he doesn't leave it all for me, but I have the chance to pick some up sometimes.
That's good to hear. I mean, I guess is he the key to you guys having that big pickup, or you know, is it still just how much maybe you and Vert need to get that extra experience and time at the top in order to push right to the very, you know, push above Vitality?
Well, I think we still need experience because, I mean, the team's been around for what, 3 months now, so not a long period of time, but not short. It's going to take some time, but it's very, very rare you see teams that kind of have like an explosive rise to the top. Because Vitality had to work for it, and then you obviously saw the Dignitas Season 4, 5, 6, whatever happened there.
Yeah.
But really, I would say the only team that might have gone around that is probably BDS.
So why have they been so successful?
I honestly have no idea, to be honest.
Well, it's them and
like,
Giants. They feel like very similar stories. Giants just seem a step behind them, right?
I mean, Giants was a weird case because they kind of like made RLRS the season before, the same with the old BDS, but like they were still high RLRS at the time. Whereas BDS was kind of like RLRS for 3 seasons or something, and then just instantly shot up.
So you're not really sure what their secret sauce is.
No, but I mean, individually, all of them are great, and they're an exceptionally fast team. So, and in this sort of meta, that's really good. Like,
Yeah.
there's not more to say of that.
So then what's it like, Dan, I guess, playing against those super fast teams? Do you feel like you're getting outpaced, or you just, that you have to stay on the ground a lot more in order to let them make the touch, or do you try and challenge them as much as possible?
Yeah, playing teams against playing against like BDS and Giants is really really hard. You have no idea because they're not only fast, but they take all your boosts as well, and they just outpace you, and you can't do anything about it. And you just feel like trapped almost. It's really hard to play against. They are very meta, and they're very good at what they do as well. And all the players on those teams are very like mechanical as well, so they can really do so much with the ball. You really have to guess to even get the ball off them. It's challenging.
Well, it also means that now we're at the time to do some predictions because we're coming towards the end of the show. I like to keep it quick and simple. So we can actually bring up our little predictions panel because I want to hear what your thoughts are on all of these teams too. But before any predictions as well, I kind of want to get your takes, especially whoever knows the most about Barrage and S2V. The two surprise packets to get into the top 16 because I don't know anything about either of them. So do any of you, okay, Wave, you know a lot about Barrage Esports and you know all about Rise, right?
Yeah. I'm good friends with Cynical and Rise, so I can say a bit about that team.
Mm-hmm.
SUV I've got nothing on, so I know Barrage. They've been bubble players individually, all of them, for quite a long time, and they've never really had the chance to break through.
Yeah.
They work fairly well. It very much looks like a one-man carry half the time, but
who's that one-man carry then?
Or sometimes it looks like Oli does tons in offense for them, but that's from a viewer perspective. I can't really give a huge insight from that.
So I'm guessing you were pretty surprised when they took down Oxygen?
Sort of surprised because, well, it's kind of clear to a lot of people that Oxygen don't seem to be the best against bubble teams. Well, that's how I've seen it at least.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, it's surprising to see that Oxygen lost, but I never thought that Barrage would actually make it to stage 2.
Do you know anything about S2V, Bluey?
No idea. I think we beat S2V in stage 1, I believe. But no idea how they made stage 2, but congrats to them, I guess.
Yeah. They did it the long way still. They took it to 5 series, but I guess you just have to verse Oxygen. So it's not, you don't think it's like a nerves thing for Oxygen, Wave, that it's more just simply that they're not ready to play against teams that they haven't played before?
I have no idea. I don't know Farash or Set Astral, any of them very well. I think probably Bluey could give a better insight to that, or well, you've known them at least, so
yeah, they're my former teammates after all.
All right, so let's hear the goss then.
I don't know what's maybe just having like an off day. Mm-hmm. I'm not really sure what's going on in their camp, but obviously it's not good. And of course, I'm sure they'll find a way to fix it. They're a top team, and top teams are supposed to perform. And I don't know, maybe I'm sure they'll find a way. Maybe they're just having problems with like bubble teams as well, because I know we are. It's tough.
Well, it's definitely. I guess I might be able to provide the most insight then, because I haven't talked to them at all. I talked to Farah actually after the first event, but it's hard to really know off one event, whether it's just a crazy day or not. But they don't seem to recover well after those 1-2 losses. It seems that they really get in their heads after that one loss. They lose confidence, and they started off they really looked nervous at the start of that event because against Guild in the first round, they were hyper defensive, just gave so much room to Guild. And never seemed, maybe recognized a little bit later on when they started reverse sweeping, that they needed to be a bit more aggressive. But it's very clear that I guess the stage and the importance that's on them, especially after failing in the first one, is really getting to them. Because, they're not going to make this first major. That's a lot of points down the drain. And that only piles the pressure on. Same with everyone here, right? Like, I guess for Endpoint, you're in a not bad situation because you have done decently, just not as well as you'd really like. But for Triple Trouble as well, not making it into the top 16 puts more onus onto the next one. And here are the top 16 teams that made it through. I'd like to quickly run through these, maybe get a little bit of opinion on the teams as you run through it too. But we could just start with who our top team is for winning it all this weekend. Don't worry about like making it through the top 8 or like, as in, it's top 9 to 16 and then also the final top 8 bracket. So I don't think Team BDS are gonna redo it, make the magic happen again. I mean, you have to try and look at all of them. Giants Gaming having a good run, but I feel like Vitality have to win one of them, so I'm giving it to Vitality here. Bluey?
Yeah, I think Vitality will win it. I think Vitality are definitely the most solid team in all of Rocket League right now. And I think they're quite unbeatable.
Internationally?
But, I mean, internationally, yeah, 100%. I think Vitality have everything it takes to win everything.
And what about you, Wave?
I mean, I'd say Vitality as well. It's kind of a no-brainer, to be honest. Like, BDS and Giants have been looking good, but Vitality still have that sense of consistency to them.
Yeah. Do you think it was kind of like rough that it was single elimination and BDS had that best day in that first event? Because maybe Vitality were the number 2 team.
I mean, maybe. Like, when you looked at the bracket on the day, it did look like one side of the bracket was a bit easier than the other. But I would still make the case of BDS just beat them on the day, and that's that. If it's single elimination, that sort of comes down to performing at the time. Yeah. And maybe Vitality didn't show it.
Alright, so let's have a look at, maybe do 2 and 3 at the same time. And I'm actually going to go for maybe a bit of an out there pick, but I'm liking the rise of Giants Gaming right now. I think BDS, I think they're still going to make top 8. But, it is single elimination, so there's a good chance that they're probably going to knock out earlier. Of course, it's really hard to do this like a top 8 order because we don't know how they're going to seed into that top 8 and who they're going to be versing. But yeah, I'm gonna go for a little bit of a surprise pick of Giants.
Okay, I mean, for my number 2 pick, I think I'd probably put BDS. With them winning the first regional, I think they've proved a lot, especially as they've very surprised everyone. Really, you don't expect BDS to come out and win the first regional, so I think they've been performing really, really well recently. So I'd definitely give number 2 pick to BDS.
We've talked a lot about pressure today as well. Do you think that the fact that they won is going to relieve a lot of pressure on them with all those points in the bag?
I mean, I think they have less pressure on them, to be honest, because they've already got so many points. They've already won that first regional. I mean, I guess in a way they could have more pressure on them because people expect them to go far again and maybe even win another regional. But I think it also relieves pressure because they're already won one and they don't have to. Not really chasing points right now. They're quite good in points department, but I think they've still got the capacity to go very far in the next regional.
Yeah. Wave?
I think it's BDS as well. I think I wouldn't say the grid's important, but it's not the end of the world if you do poorly in it. I think BDS just having won that first regional kind of ramps it up a bit, and just BDS sort of like a better team as a whole, personally.
It's cool. So yeah, I'm gonna put BDS as my number 3. I was one of the major backers of BDS in the last one. I was saying that if anyone had a chance of taking down Vitality without Oxygen and Liquid and a bunch of teams up there in the top 8, that BDS were the ones with the best chance of doing it. I didn't expect them to do it, but I felt they had the best chance. And once they did, you kind of felt that they were 100% going to win it. They look like a really strong team. They could easily be over the top of Giants because, as I said, it's an off pick for me. So I'm interested to see what your third is, Bluey.
Yeah, it's a tough one for me, to be honest. I'm considering a few teams. I think it's quite close, in my opinion. I'm not really sure. I mean, yeah, I think Giants. I think Giants are very good. I do think obviously BDS are just. I think it's the same kind of style of team, just a little bit better. But I do think Giants are definitely a top team. But I'm also like considering. I've played a lot of top blokes recently.
Yeah.
I played top blokes in probably every single tournament possible recently, and I do think they're a very top team as well. But so they're really my contenders. Like, so I'd probably put Giants though. I think Giants are revolutionary as well.
What does that
Definitely top
mean?
three,
Does that mean you're going to put top blokes number 4?
four. Yeah, 100%.
What's making them so strong at the moment?
I think Archie coming into the mix really has really spiced that team up. It's given them a lot of flavor, and it's Archie is doing so much for that team. It's crazy. And I think Cassio and Flame behind Archie is probably they're very very solid. The duo of Flame and Cassio, I think that duo is really strengthening that backline for Archie, and it gives Archie that confidence he needs to really go up and do his mechanical plays and carry the team.
Sweet. What about for you, Wave? We'll get your 3 and your 4 as well.
I have to agree with Bluey again because like I'm not following him, I promise. But no, Giants. It's the same sort of thing. The only reason I have Giants over top blokes is because like Giants are looking a lot more consistent than top blokes because they've obviously top blokes have won a grid and they've also won. Well, they got second in the first regional. However, the 2 weeks before they just won the grid, they got last twice. So, like being a top team is always great, but if there's not that much consistency behind it, then I kind of find it hard to put them ahead.
It is also really difficult, right? Like, I'm not as convinced on top blokes, maybe as you guys are, because I haven't versed them, which also helps you not have maybe as clear as a picture. I remember a series of them versus Guild in the last one that looked not super convincing, but then they end up coming second on the day because Archie just literally carried harder than I've ever seen anyone, popped off. I didn't say carried because they all had a good day, but he popped off more than anyone I'd ever really seen on that day. I don't think we can rely on Archie to get them into, I guess, top 4 again, but it might still be enough for a top 4. I'm finding it hard though to find another team to put above them, right? Like I really want Magnifico to be in that top 4 spot, but I feel like eventually their dream has to end. They're somehow like clutched at the last moment. Fuck. Yeah, it's top bloke. It's fuck it.
Checkmate.
Fuck it. I know I have to give my 5 as well. Okay, 5 is my Magnifico. Fuck this. Like, there's maybe a bit of a love pick. I think they'll sneak into the top 8 again. They seem to they seem to keep high spirits throughout the day. I actually think this is their secret. They keep high spirits throughout the day. So even if they as long as they get to that series 5, they're in a really good spot to win that when another team might be, feeling really unconfident. But that's not going to translate to necessarily a top 4.
Yeah.
Who have you got, Bluey?
Oof, that's another hard one, really.
Yeah.
This is where it gets difficult.
Yeah. I think it's a few teams I could really put number 5 spot. I'm considering Guild. I think Guild are really good. I think I've played them a bit. They're very good. I think they've got a lot of potential. I don't think they've performed too well as of late, but I do think they have the potential to be a really good team. I'm also considering Endpoint as well. I definitely think Endpoint like a top 5 team because I've played them a lot and they are really solid, really solid. I don't think there's any other team that I'd really put top 5. Magnifico are very good. I think they're still a dark horse team. Of course, they got that one good placement in the regionals. I think if Magnifico can show more consistently and keep performing at that top level, then I definitely consider them for top 5, 100%. But I think for my number 5 pick, I'd have to go with Endpoint.
Well, you named a bunch of teams there too. So do you want to give like 6, 7, or anything like that?
6, 7, okay. 6 I'll probably give to Guild then.
Guild for 6. All right, what about
Yeah.
you, Wave? 5 and 6.
I don't know. Like, this is,
I mean, it's super hard. That's why
it's
predictions
really-
are always
it's
painful.
difficult. It's difficult. Like, I don't necessarily think Guild are top 6 standard at the moment.
I think they're
they can
so
look,
inconsistent.
they
Yeah,
look
very
really good, yet really bad at times. Like, I could put Guild probably 7th or 8th. Like,
Yeah, I understand that.
I don't think. I mean, they like when they look good, they look really, really good.
Hmm.
But how often is that realistically going to happen?
Listen, I've seen them versus Chalked, and both Chalked and Guild had a battle for who could be the worst, you know, in that series. And it was Chalked won that battle, but you know, it was very close. It was a game 5 overtime. And we see that over again. We saw that with them versus Top Blokes in the last regional. We saw them, I think, in the last grid, having a really, you know, they didn't. I didn't think their results were terrible, if I recall, but their performance was not exactly what you wanted. So, but yeah, as you said, when they're good, they could take a 2 or even maybe a 1 on their best day.
Yeah, I mean, like they look good when they can force a team to play their way because individually they're mechanical yet surprising with what they do. Also, Tho's incredibly hard to beat to the ball half the time.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's just how often are you really going to see that though?
Yeah.
I also make a case for Solary being quite high because they've looked fairly good. There's like some performances they do well, some they don't. I would probably put Solary like 6th or something like that.
So then, who do you have 5?
I would probably say either us or Barca. Like Barca's looking weird at the moment because they did not have a good start,
Mm-hmm.
but they've really started to pull something out now, and it's starting to work. I'm. It's hard.
Go for the non-ego pick, or go for the ego pick, whatever you want.
Go on, ego pick.
Ego pick, let's go. See, now I don't want to put. I was going to put endpoint 6, but now I feel like I need to take you down a few pegs. And you said Solary.
You want to do?
You said Solary, and you kind of reminded me. Like Solary feel like they're really on the up, considering it felt like their offense was just not really there before, and it seems to have figured that out in the last week or so. But I think it's also a pretty risky pick. I'm still going to go, you know, Solary number 6. And, you know, endpoint number 7. And yeah, that's it. 7 and 8, Bluey. Who are you making
7
top
and
8?
Ooh, I
Important
think
picks.
for 7th, I'd probably go for Solary.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're very good right now. And for Barcelona, probably 8th. I definitely agree with Wave. Barcelona have been been shy recently, or it was definitely the start when their team initially formed. But I can definitely see them getting better. We played them a lot in the field and stuff, and they're definitely getting better. And I'm very excited to see where Barca goes.
So where have you got 7 and 8? Wait.
I'd have Barca 7th and then Guild 8th. I think Barca are looking a lot better than Guild at the moment.
Yeah.
And I prefer to go off recent results than fairly older ones.
Fair enough.
But I can't have Barca too high because they haven't really done exceptional in anything.
Yeah. I mean,
But
they could
haven't really
always
done too poorly recently.
they could always just have one of those days. I'm actually going to put Team Liquid as my 8. I think they're on the rises too. They're starting to seem like they're figuring things out. In the regional event, they didn't look too bad. They lost a fadeaway, if I recall. I mean, we can even bring that up. No, they lost to Vitality. They got shat on by Vitality, and that was their only loss. You know? They looked pretty good though. I was actually pretty happy for the first time watching Liquid play and not being like, "What are you guys doing?" So I'm going to put them there. A Guild, again, the inconsistent results. They could... I think I'm going to put them as a 9, but I could see them coming like 12th or top 2, you know? I think it's going to be like a really interesting result, and it depends on which day they pop off on. because they at least have the advantage of they can do all right and make it into the top 8 if they have an okay day, and then maybe they pop off in that top 8. But yeah, if they get into the top 4, I'm gonna say they'll make it into the grand final most of the time. So now we're in a bit of an area where we're just saying who's not gonna make it. So I'm gonna give a shout out to Fadeaway because they did look really good on the weekend. So I'm giving them my 10. But yeah, we'll quickly go to 12, and then we probably won't rank anything beyond that. So I'll give 11 to Barca, and then this has to be, I guess, a bit of a I love you pick. So I'm giving 12 to Monkeys.
The bias on this guy.
Yeah, I mean, what are you gonna do about it? Sue me.
I'm not going to do anything about it.
Oh, that's what I thought. Sit down. Oh wait, you're already sitting. All right, Bluey. We've got 9 through to 12. Who are your ones that are just on the edge of top 8?
Probably I put 9th, Team Liquid. I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think they'll be on the verge of making it. 10th. Ooh. 10th. I think Magnifico. I think they're very good, but I think they'll be close to making it. 11th.
Arden loves Monkeys. Good man.
11th. Ooh, I'd probably put Libertas, to be honest. I think Libertas are really good. I think they've been on the rise recently.
Yep.
Their playstyle is really good. They're very hard to play against, in my experience.
What makes them hard to play against?
Just ball chasey. Probably the most ball chasey team I've ever played against my whole entire career. Genuinely. I'm serious. They're very fast. They're very fast, and it drives me crazy.
I know, you're lucky you haven't played against yourself yet.
What?
Oh,
What do you
hey.
mean? All right.
You understand that I am dead half the game because you are just constantly up my ass.
That's revenge for having a Vart on your team.
Yeah, blame me for that then, alright.
Yep. You chose him to have him on your team. All right, 12th pick. Ooh. Probably Fadeaway, honestly. I was considering Monkeys, but I think Fadeaway have the slight edge on Monkeys, in my opinion. I think Fadeaway definitely on the rise.
Yeah. And Wave?
I think it'd be quite clear to say Liquid 9th because I don't think there's anyone else that can really stand out from that above them. For 10th, I'd probably choose Libertas. I think they're certainly looking really good recently. But even if it's the grid or just the regionals, they looked quite good in the regionals actually. Yeah, there's not more to that, I guess. I'd put Fadeaway 11th. Like the Fadeaway looked good on the weekend, to be fair.
Yeah.
And obviously, they were good. They beat us. There's not more to that. But I don't know how well they're gonna do against some of the bubble teams as well. And then for 12th, I would say Monkeys.
My man. Got 2 Monkeys picks. Although I didn't have Libertas in my top 12, so I'm probably going to look a bit stupid when they do really well and make it into the top 8 somehow. Cool. I don't think I can order this because I've got it set up weirdly. So I can't rearrange this, but as a team, as the pinch team, we've got Vitality, BDS, Giants Gaming, and then Top Blokes, and then it becomes a real mess from there with like Endpoint as 5 because of the ego pick, and then Solary.
What more do you expect from me?
Although I had my Magic Mystery Magnifico top 5 pick, which is putting them in a way better position because Wave doesn't have them in their top 12, so averaging out it comes quite high. But if you gave them a 13, then then they're looking a much worse for wear in terms of the rankings. So, you know, we got a pretty clear top 8. I'll have a look back at this next week, and we tweet out who was the most correct out of any of us. And I guess if whoever's the most correct, I'll make sure to sub using the September thing to your channel for like 3 months. There you go.
Oh, look at that.
Deal.
Yeah, man. But if I win, then it's not going to happen. So don't worry about it.
As I say, if you win, I'll do a backflip.
Yeah, perfect. If I win, Wave will do a backflip. Perfect. That's the end of the show. That's all the end of the predictions as well. If anyone has some questions, we might have a few minutes to answer them. But I want to thank you two for being on the show. It was actually fantastic to have you on.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. It was a fun time while it lasted.
Look, we try and keep it quick and simple because you don't want to listen to people talk for too long, right?